Everyone. So episode 2 of I Am the Night premiered this week, and it was an interesting episode. I wouldn't say it was like the first one, and what I mean by that is that it was a little, it was kind of like it was missing something. I can't say what exactly, but there was definitely not a lot going on, and some of the episode felt a little choppy, but let me explain some of the big moments and then maybe I can try to figure it out. So Fauna goes to LA and she's visiting some family, and she's planning to go to George Hodell's house, and she does eventually get there, but when she rings the bell, he doesn't answer. It's almost like the whole house is abandoned. So she gives up on that. But she does keep calling the phone numbers that she found, and she does get a hold of Karina, and I guess she's supposed to be, I don't know if she's the ex-wife of George Hodell or if they're still married. I'm not 100% certain on that. She's living in a completely different house, and it doesn't seem like they're together, but at the same time, she still acts like she is, so I don't know. Maybe that will be answered better, or maybe I missed something, I don't know, but she's an interesting character. I don't know what she was like in real life, but this is kind of the pivotal moment in the episode where Fauna meets Karina, and she tells her about George Hodell, but not a lot of details. She also tells her about her mother Tamar, and she tells Fauna that she died, which I don't think that's true. I don't think she had died at that point. I think she lived quite a while afterwards, because I've looked her up and I've seen like recent photos of her. I can't say for certain if that's accurate, but it's possible. But I feel like Karina is hiding something. She doesn't tell the answers like in a straight way. She kind of goes off into like a weird explanation or stories that Fauna really isn't that interested in hearing. But you can tell how Karina feels about Tamar. She did not like her. She wasn't her daughter, but she was her stepdaughter. And she kind of has this hatred towards her because she thinks that she ruined the family. I guess because of all of the allegations that she made against her father. And the allegations were that he had assaulted her. But no one ever entirely believed her. And that's kind of where the whole scandal started with that. But anyway. So she tells her about Tamar and George. She takes Fauna to like this fancy little, I wouldn't call it a museum. It's kind of like a cafe, library place where they have artwork of all kinds. It's like artwork of the Hodells. I guess stuff that George had collected. One room was actually really weird. In one room there were all of these paintings, and there were like these, at least one of the paintings I noticed, there was like this disfigured woman, almost like she was cut up. I don't know if this painting existed. I assume it did. But I thought that was really creepy. Especially because, if you guys know, he may have a connection to the Black Dahlia case, where that's where Elizabeth Short was found all sliced up and she had slits on her mouth. And they always said that there was a good chance that a surgeon had done it. And George Hodell was a surgeon. He was a interesting man, if anything. But anyway. So yeah, she takes her there. She still isn't like explaining everything to her. and she makes her wait in different places, and she goes off at one point, and Fauna hears her name, and she notices like there's two men walking along the galleries, so she kind of follows around, and eventually the one man turns around, and it's the man she saw at the bus stop, and it's George Hodel. And she freaks out and she runs off, and then eventually she leaves with Karina, but she never really confronted him. And I don't know how eventually they're going to. It looks like there's going to be a bad situation later in the series. I don't know how they're going to get there, but yeah. But yeah, he's definitely a creepy man. He can rub you the wrong way. Just there's something off about him. And we don't entirely know who he was talking to. It almost seemed like the man that's been following Fauna, which they did show him following her earlier in the episode, so he's still stalking her. We don't know who this man is, though. If he was paid by George Hodel to watch over her, I don't know. But yeah, there's something weird. Yeah. And Karina bluntly tells Fauna later that her father was not African American and that she's not mixed race, and this really bothers Fauna because she's lived all her life thinking that she was a mixed race, and for somebody to tell her that that's not true, even though it did say it on the birth certificate that her father was African American, I guess. I didn't pay attention to the certificate, but that's what she said was on it. So she tells her off and leaves the car, and she takes the bus home. But the man who's been stalking her, I think he's the one who got on the bus with her. Yeah, I don't know who he would be. I'm gonna leave that up for debate, because I'm not sure. But yeah, that was Fauna's story in this episode. It wasn't the biggest arc I was expecting in this episode. I thought she would at least meet Jay, but that didn't quite happen, though I think next episode he will, because he has been awakened, like reawakened, to go back into researching Hodel because of the phone call that Fauna's adoptive mother made. And he is very interested in following up on that case, even though it kind of ruined his life. But his boss wants him to do another story, something like a Bloody Romeo. And I don't know how this would connect exactly in the story, but I assume Hodel might be connected to it. I'm not sure. But he goes to a prostitute place and he's trying to figure out like what's going on. It's a side story that I didn't get too interested in, to be honest. But like I said, it might connect to the whole Hodel plot, so I don't know. We'll find out. But he also is trying, like I said, to follow up on that case. And he does at one point go to Karina's house and he sees Fauna there, but he thinks it's Tamar. He's not entirely sure what's going on. And he kind of gives up at that point from following them. But later he does realize that she might be Fauna. So he tries to find them, but he has no luck. But yeah, his story was kind of a smaller plot in this episode. I personally didn't get too much out of it, but I think they're gonna bring more into the mix next episode. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the first episode was really good. It caught my attention, and it was very intriguing. This episode, I mean, there were important things that were happening, but it was a little all over the place, to be honest. And not saying that it's a bad thing, because Honestly, when you watch a show as a whole, like once all of the episodes have premiered, it all just makes sense. But when you're watching it one by one and you have to wait a week, it feels like that's all we got this week, that kind of feeling. But I think once all of the episodes are laid out for us, we will know the full story. Everything will feel complete. This episode on its own maybe wasn't the strongest, but it was important. Because Fauna did learn a little more about herself. Jay is kind of figuring out where he's supposed to go with the case. And yeah, things are just kind of starting to come together. They're taking their time, but eventually we're going to have the full story. And I don't entirely know what's supposed to happen for the rest of the episodes, but like I said, I think Jay and Fauna are finally going to meet next episode. But I can't say for sure. But yeah, I mean, overall, good episode. But hopefully next week will be a little more exciting, feel a little more complete. That's just my opinion. But yeah, what you guys think of it? I think the show is going somewhere. Like, you know, my opinion's on this one, but next episode I think is going to be much better. So yeah, we're going to find out more about Hodel, I'm sure. I don't know, like I said in the last video that I did, how much it's going to connect to the Black Dahlia murder case, because it seems to be connecting more to Tamar's case, and the Black Dahlia case is a little more in the background. I can't say for certain, but I'm interested to see if that comes into play a little more. Yeah, next week we will find out. Alright guys, I will see you next week for another video. And I think we have 4 more episodes left because it's supposed to be a 6-episode series. I don't know if they're going to do more seasons on it, but it'll be interesting to see. Alright, leave your comments down below what you guys think, and I will see you next week. Bye!